It's 3:14 in the morning. You're awake and you didn't choose to be. The room is dark. The house is silent, and your brain has decided that right now, not tomorrow, not in the safety of daylight, is the perfect time to replay every mistake you've ever made. A conversation from 3 years ago, a bill you forgot, a version of your life that didn't happen. One thought pulls the next, and there's no off switch. You tell yourself to stop. You can't. By morning, half of it won't even seem important. So why does it feel like the most urgent thing in the world? At 3 a.m., here's what almost nobody realizes. The person lying awake in the dark is not the same person who will wake up at 8. Your brain at 3 a.m. is, chemically, neurologically, measurably, a different brain. And once you understand what's actually happening inside your skull in those hours, the thoughts that feel so true, so heavy, so impossible to escape, start to lose their grip. Let's start with a simple question. Why are you even awake? You don't sleep in one smooth block. You move through cycles, roughly 90 minutes each, climbing down into deep sleep and back up toward the surface again and again through the night. And here's the part most people never learn. At the top of each cycle, you briefly wake up. Everyone does, several times a night. Usually you don't remember it. You shift, you resettle, you're gone again before the awareness even registers. In the second half of the night, those cycles get lighter and more dream and heavy, so the surfacing happens more often. This is not broken sleep. This is exactly how sleep is built. So waking at 3 a.m. isn't the malfunction. The malfunction is what happens next. Because on the nights your mind has something to chew on, you don't drift back under. You surface and you stay. And the body you've surfaced into is not a neutral place to start thinking. Consider where your body is. At 3 a.m., your core temperature is near the lowest point of the entire 24-hour cycle. It bottoms out around 4 in the morning. You've gone hours without food, so your blood sugar is low. Melatonin, the hormone that's been pulling you towards sleep all night, is still high in your system. And cortisol, the hormone of alertness and stress, has quietly bottomed out near midnight and is now beginning its slow climb toward a dawn peak, the surge that's supposed to wake you for the day. Put it together. At 3 a.m., you are cold, running low on fuel, still soaked in a sleep hormone, and just beginning to drip stress hormone into your bloodstream. That is the physical state in which your brain decides to evaluate your entire life. It was never going to go well, but the chemistry is only the setup. The real reason your thoughts turn dark is what's happening between two specific parts of your brain. In 2007, sleep scientist Matthew Walker and his colleagues ran a study on what happens to the emotional brain when sleep is short. They put people in a scanner and watched two regions in particular. The first is the amygdala, your threat detector, the part that generates fear, alarm, and emotional intensity. Think of it as the accelerator. The second is the prefrontal cortex, the rational, deliberate region right behind your forehead that puts threats in perspective and says, "It's fine, this can wait until morning." Think of it as the brake. When sleep was cut short, two things happened. The amygdala became around 60% more reactive. The accelerator floored, and the connection between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex weakened. The brake went soft, the emotional engine roared, and the part of you that normally calms it down was no longer fully in the loop. This is your brain at 3 a.m. A small, ordinary worry, something you'd shrug off at noon, arrives with the full emotional weight of a genuine emergency, and the calm, reasoning voice that would normally talk you down is offline. You're not overthinking because something is wrong. You're overthinking because the brake is loose. And there's one more piece. With no brake, the thoughts need somewhere to go. At 3 a.m., they only go one direction. In 2001, neuroscientist Marcus Reichel described something he called the default mode network, a set of brain regions that switch on when you're not focused on the outside world. It's the network of self-reflection. It narrates your life, revisits your past, rehearses your future, and tells the ongoing story of who you are. During the day, this network barely gets a moment alone. Work demands your attention. People talk to you. Screens flood your eyes. Every task pulls you outward and keeps the inward storyteller in check. At 3 a.m., there is no outside world, nothing to look at, Nothing to do, no one to talk to, the default mode network finally has the entire stage to itself, and it does the only thing it knows how to do. It turns inward, and it loops the same regret, the same fear, the same imagined conversation, around and around, because nothing in the dark room is strong enough to interrupt it. So now you have a loose emotional brake, a roaring threat detector, and a self-reflective network running unopposed in total silence. And as it turns out, that combination isn't random. It may be a feature of the night itself. In 2022, sleep researcher Andrew Tubbs and his colleagues proposed an idea they called the mind after midnight. The hypothesis is simple and a little unsettling. The human brain was never tuned to be awake in the middle of the night, and when it is, the systems that govern sane mood, reward, and risk shift toward the negative. The same problem examined at 3 a.m. versus 3 p.m. doesn't just feel worse. It is being processed by a brain that is genuinely weighing it differently. Risks loom larger. Solutions seem further away. Hope is harder to reach. Nothing about your actual situation has changed between the afternoon and the small hours. The only thing that changed is the brain doing the judging, which means the verdict your mind hands down at 3 a.m. That you've ruined everything, that it's hopeless, that this feeling is permanent, isn't reliable testimony. It's the testimony of a witness who is cold, exhausted, and biologically primed to see the worst. And here's the strange, almost beautiful part. This wakeful window in the dead of night is not new. For most of human history, people woke in the middle of the night on purpose, the quiet hours between what they called first sleep and second sleep. They expected it. And in that window, with no screens and no spiraling, their brains slipped into something calm and reflective, even meditative. They used the dark to think gently, to dream, to simply be still. We inherited the exact same window. We just never learned what it was for. So instead of resting in it, we treat it as failure. We reach for the phone, flood the brain with light and noise and other people's lives, and feed the loop the one thing it was starving for. More material, same hour, same biology. Opposite experience. When you wake in the dark and your mind starts building its case against you, remember who's arguing it. Better that a brain that is cold and fasting, an emotional accelerator stuck to the floor, a rational brake gone soft, a storyteller with no audience but you, and a clock sitting in the exact hour that bends every thought toward the worst. That's not a verdict, it's weather. And like weather, it passes. By morning, the prefrontal cortex comes back online. Cortisol does its job and pulls you upright. Light hits your eyes and resets the whole system. And the catastrophe that felt so certain in the dark looks, in the daylight, like exactly what it always was. A thought you had at 3 a.m. You are never broken. You are just awake at the hour your ancestors used for wonder. And nobody ever taught you what to do with it.